The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr. With me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight's show is going to be pretty interesting. This is one that comes actually from my wife. She showed me this yesterday, and she thought it was really cool that it's something that women are now doing to, I don't want to say keep themselves safe, but to help police solve like murder cases and SA cases and those kind of things when it happens to the women. And that is using body glitter, which is pretty spectacular. I want to go over a case with you that I looked up on this because I wanted to see if this was just something they were talking about online or if this was an actual thing. So in 2001, Megan Barrasso, there was red glitter found on the victim's hair, and that was linked to the suspect, which helped solve the murder. It says the victim, Megan Barrasso, was at a 4th of July party where she had been sprinkled with red glitter. This glitter was later found on the suspect's vehicle, the rifle, and the victim's jacket, which connected him to the crime. In 2001, Megan Barrasso was found murdered near a dump site 15 miles from where she was abducted. Investigators discovered that red glitter was found in Megan's hair, a remnant of the 4th of July party she had attended. Forensic analysis revealed that the same type of red glitter was present on the suspect's vehicle, the AK-47 rifle used in the crime, and the victim's jacket. The suspect, Vincent Sanchez, was apprehended and convicted of the crime. The unique red glitter, a small but distinctive piece of trace evidence, played a key role in connecting Sanchez to the crime and ultimately leading to his conviction. So there is an actual case where the police used the glitter to link the suspect to the victim and to the scene of the crime, which is pretty cool. And I was thinking, well, that could be subjective because there's all kinds of glitter. I mean, people have glitter on them for all kinds of reasons. You know what I mean? So how do they know that that's the same glitter? So I did a little deep dive on that. And this shit was fascinating. Now, you guys might not think it's fascinating. You might think I'm just a nerd for thinking this is fascinating, but there are like over 20,000 different types of glitter. Each one has different shapes, different components that make it up, different metals that are in it, different materials that make up the glitter pieces itself, like some are satin, some are I don't know all the different types, but there's a bunch of different types. Let's just say that. And so each glitter is a little bit different, is the point that I'm making. So what they can actually do is they can examine the glitter and they can determine exactly which manufacturer made it and match it with other glitters. So if the women are putting a specific type of glitter on their body, and then later on that suspect is apprehended and that same glitter is on him or his vehicle or the murder weapon or anything like that, then they can directly tie those two together to say that was that glitter that she was wearing was also found here. Not something like it, but that exact glitter, which is pretty amazing. So what women are doing is they are proactively putting glitter on themselves so that in case something happens to them, there's another level for the police to be able to potentially solve the crime, which is pretty awesome. And you might think, well, okay, the guy will check it. If he sees glitter, he'll just wash it off, right? But it turns out that some of this glitter remains even after you wash off, on like even down to like a microscopic level, where they can analyze stuff with using a microscope and find microscopic bits of glitter that are left behind that can still be matched to a specific glitter that the woman is wearing, which is pretty amazing. The basic idea here is that anytime one person comes in contact with another person, there's always evidence left behind. There's always DNA left behind. There's always some sort of evidence left behind. And if the guy is careful and he does a really, really good job of cleaning up, then usually there won't be much to go on, much to actually see, because they're going to check for the normal things. They're going to check for blood. They're going to check for hair. They're going to check for fingerprints, right? But this glitter idea brings up a whole new level, because a lot of women wear glitter anyway, right? They have glitter in their lip gloss that they put on. Some of them have glitter in their eyeshadow they put on. Some of them have glitter in the lotions and stuff that they use. So that's not something that would be out of the ordinary, to where a guy would go, wait a minute, she's wearing glitter, I got to watch my ass. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't pick this one because she's got glitter on and I'll get caught. An assailant's just going to think, okay, it's just another chick wearing glitter. And it's not a specific type of glitter that they're buying to do it with. It's whatever glitter that they like, right? Because each one of them, like I said before, is a little bit different, to where the police can actually match it up now. The forensic people can. So that's pretty cool. You still have the issue of, if somebody comes in and commits the crime and then leaves and then nobody sees them, and they don't leave behind some kind of telltale evidence that would lead police to that person, that's still a problem. Okay, just because she has glitter on her doesn't mean that the police are going to say, oh, look, glitter, now we know exactly where to go. That's not how it works. This is assuming, I guess, that there's some other clue that leads the police to a suspect. Then the glitter will be another factor in determining whether or not that person might be guilty. Even if they find the glitter and everything like that, it still has to go to trial, all that kind of stuff. And you all have seen how problematic that process can be sometimes, where people that are overwhelmingly guilty, as far as what the evidence says, they get set free anyway. And it doesn't make any sense, because the jury just does what it wants to do sometimes, But I guess this is kind of one step that women can take to be proactive, to try to ensure that there's some sort of evidence left behind that could possibly help solve their murder, really. Or if it's an SA case, then maybe they have a description of the guy, and police can go and question him. And when they find him and they question him, if he has the glitter present on his body or whatever, then that's another evidence point, basically, is what it is. Another data point for police to use. But I want to go over several things that will be extremely helpful to not necessarily always protect women, but to give them a better chance in a situation like this, whether it's an SA case or an assault case or a murder case or whatever. Something that'll give them a better chance. First of all, let's talk a little bit about prevention. The best possible scenario is that it doesn't happen in the first place, right? Is that you are able to prevent that from happening. The first thing I would talk about is situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings. Always be looking around. Don't be on your phone. Don't be, engrossed in a conversation and not paying attention to where you are or what's going on around you. Because most times, and before I go really, really into this, let me say that I used to have my own martial arts school that I taught self-defense and martial arts. So I'm speaking from a place of knowledge here. Okay, I used to teach this. when you walk into a room, you should always look around and see what's in the room, see who's in the room, determine if those people are threats or not. Look them in the eye so that they can see that you're looking at them. Scope out all the exits. Make a plan in your mind whenever you go into a room. If something happens, this is where I escape. If this is blocked, this is where I escape. Okay? Be aware of the people in the room. Be aware of how they're moving and what they're doing. If they're moving towards you, always look at people and make eye contact with them. Don't look down and be shy. Look straight in their eyes. Because the statistics tell you that people that are aware of their surroundings and that maintain eye contact with people, right? When they look at somebody, they look them dead in the eye so that that person knows, hey, I see you, right? You don't have to be threatening. You don't have to be imposing, but just look at them so they know you're aware of what's going on around you. The statistics show that those people are a lot less likely to be attacked, to be robbed, to be harmed in any way. Okay? When someone's looking to rob you or take advantage of you, they're looking to take advantage of a person that is weak, that isn't paying attention. They want the element of surprise. They want it quick, easy, done, and gone. Okay? That's what they want. So if they go into a situation and they see somebody who's aware of their surroundings and they're watching them, then they know they're not going to be able to get the drop on you. They're not just going to be able to sneak up without you knowing. If they start moving towards you, you know they're coming. And you can turn to face them. You can raise a fuss. You can hoop and holler. You can make some fucking noise. Okay, what that will do is draw attention, and that is not something that somebody wants to harm you wants as attention. Okay, now when we're talking about this, I'm talking about people that are looking to rob you or harm you, right? This isn't talking about some crazy fucker that just wants to kill you and doesn't care who sees. Okay? That's not going to help with that person. But for the overwhelming majority of times that somebody's going to try to hurt you, it's not going to be somebody that's hurting you for a personal reason. It's going to be somebody that wants your purse or your wallet, and they just want to rob you and get out of there. Okay? And people get hurt in those situations. They get assaulted and they get killed. Okay, maybe it's also some guy that's looking to SA somebody. And if you're aware of your surroundings and you're going to raise a fuss and a holler, people are going to pay attention. He's going to get recognized. He's going to be remembered. That's not what those people want. Okay, so that's step one. Be aware of your surroundings. Always look at everybody. Look them in the eyes. Don't shy away. The second part of that is carry yourself with confidence. Don't walk in all slumped over and sad looking. Walk in with your head up, your chest out, like you own the fucking place. Okay? Doesn't matter if you can actually fight. Doesn't matter if you can actually take care of yourself or not. You could be the weakest person on the planet. You could be somebody who can't possibly win a fight. Somebody that a toddler would beat the hell out of. But if you walk into a room like you own it, people are going to notice. And it psychologically, that just gives them that impression of, man, that's a confident person. Why are they so confident? What do they know that I don't know? Right? Now, that person, I wouldn't mess with that person because they could take care of themselves or they're on top of things. It's not going to be easy. They're going to choose somebody else. Okay, so that's the first step. Is be aware of your surroundings, look everybody in the eyes, watch what people are doing, walk with confidence. Okay? Always keep your head on a swivel, in other words. Always make sure you know what's going on in a room. Okay, the second part would be aware of where you are. Don't go walking down some dark alley. Don't isolate yourself alone away from people. Stay in well-lit areas. Stay in areas that are populated by other people. That will dramatically decrease your odds of something bad happening to you. Because if you're in a well-populated, brightly lit area, most people aren't going to walk up to you and try to rob you in that situation. Most people aren't going to try to pull you aside behind the couch and SA you, right? Because there's all kinds of people around. You know, they're not going to walk up and try to harm you. But if you go walking around the corner, down the dark alley, or out to behind the house to take a piss or something, and there's nobody out there, and it's dark out there, that's exactly what criminals are looking for. They're looking for some dummy who ain't paying attention, who's going to walk somewhere where nobody else is, where nobody can see what happens to them, and that isn't paying attention. Okay, so be aware of your surroundings. That's number 2. Don't put yourself in situations to where you're going to get hurt. Stay with the crowd. Stay with people. Stay in well-lit areas. Buddy system, very important, especially for women. Don't go out by yourself. And if you go out with your friends to a bar, don't leave with some guy and go to his house that you don't even know the dude. First of all, that's a bad life decision because you're going to end up with a disease. You're going to end up with a baby you don't want. You're going to end up with something like that happening to you. Best case scenario, okay? Don't do that. That's dumb. If you don't know the person, you got no business going to their house, okay? Alone at least. Stay with your friends. You can go out and you can have fun as girls without having to worry too much if you got a bunch of you with you, right? It's not that you can overpower people. It's that there's enough people there that can call the police, that can raise a fuss, and then some guy is going to come over and help you, right? Stay with your friends. Too many times I see women go out in a group, and then one of them gets picked up by some guy at a bar or something, and they skedaddle with that dude all by themselves. Now, you don't know who that person is, right? They may say they're a good person. Maybe they say they're a doctor or a lawyer or something really fancy that makes you go, oh, this is nice. This is a good score. I'm going to get me a good man here. But you don't know really who that person is. You just know what they're telling you. And one rule that is almost universal is everybody lies, especially people that want to do harm to you. They lie a lot. They're going to tell you whatever the hell they want to tell you just to get you to do what they want. Okay? You can't trust them. You can't trust men, period, usually, in that kind of situation. I mean, you have some men that are honorable, but that's a very small minority. The majority of men will say and do anything they can to get in your pants. That's how men are. They're scumbags. Okay? So don't trust them. If you don't know this dude, if you're not multiple dates in with this fella and you don't gotten to know him, you know where he lives, you know who he is, his name, all that kind of stuff, don't go back to his house by yourself. Okay? That's a big mistake because you went to the bar with other girls. That was a good move. You got friends with you. You got people to have your back that call the police if they need to help, right? You go off by yourself, all that preparation's down the drain. Now you have no idea what that dude's going to do to you. You're in his car, driving God knows where, to do God knows what. There's nothing stopping him from just taking a right and going out of town instead of taking a left and going back to the apartment. Taking you out to the woods somewhere, then you're at his mercy. Okay? Don't do that. That's dumb. Stay with your friends. The next thing is if you are walking out to your car. Now, I'm sure everybody's heard this piece of advice before, but it doesn't mean it's a bad piece of advice. When you've got your keys in your hand, put them in your fist. Okay? Have your keys sticking up like this through your fist. And walk that way. That gives you a weapon. That's a metal object that can pierce skin. If you punch somebody with that, you can pierce their skin. Now, if you punch them in the arm and pierce their skin, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to stop it. But what you want to do is you want to go for the vital areas. You want to go for the soft parts. You want to hit him in his eyes. Okay? You want to hit him right in the nose. Break that nose. That'll tear the eyes up. You want to go for the throat. You punch somebody in the throat, I don't give a shit how big and bad they are. They're going down. And they're not going to keep coming after you. It's going to take quite a while to come back from a punch in the throat. You can kill somebody with a punch in the throat. It does not take but 5 pounds of pressure to collapse an esophagus in on itself. That person will suffocate without emergency medical help. Okay, so it doesn't take much. Everybody always says, kick him in the balls, kick him in the balls, kick him in the balls. Kicking him in the balls is dangerous, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's very easy to block if somebody tries to kick you in the balls. Because everybody's expecting you to kick me in the balls. If I come walking up on you as a woman, right, in a dark alley, and I intend to do you harm, I am 6'5", damn near 300 pounds of muscle. I am a scary individual. If I come walking up on you and you're a little 5'0" female, the only thing you're going to do, and what I'm going to expect you to do, is scream and try to kick me in the balls, because that's what they teach you to do. So all I have to do is turn. Just turn my bottom half a little bit, and you miss. You hit my leg, you hit my hip, you hit my stomach, you hit my thigh area. You don't hit me where you need to hit me. Okay, it's very simple. It's just a tiny little movement, and you're screwed. But let's say you do connect perfectly, exactly square in the nuts where you're aiming. That's still not going to save you, because it takes a couple seconds from when you kicked me to when I start to feel it. At least 2 or 3 seconds. In 2 or 3 seconds, I can club you like a baby seal. One punch, you are unconscious. It will hurt. I might even bend over and be like, oh shit, man, that sucks. But in about 30 seconds to a minute, I'm going to be okay enough to grab you and drag you to my car. Yes, I might hurt for a while, but it is not debilitating for long periods of time. But if you hit me in my eye with that car key, or if you don't have that car key, just even your fingers, if you can get your thumbs or your fingers in my eye, poke me really hard in my eye, gouge, I'm going to be hurting for a long time. If you can land a solid strike on my nose, my eyes are going to tear up for multiple minutes. And it's going to hurt like hell. If you hit me in the throat, I'm not going to be able to breathe for a long time. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You don't want to do the old kick him in the balls thing, because it doesn't last. At least not in a way that debilitates the guy so he can't come after you. That's a very short window. And there's a delayed effect. Okay? So just remember the soft spots. Your eyes, the nose, the throat, the ear. If you can cup slap an ear, pow, like that, you will burst an eardrum. And I don't know if you've ever had an eardrum burst, but that shit hurts. And not only does it hurt, it throws your equilibrium off. Your balance is screwed. It's very difficult to chase after somebody when you feel like you done went on a merry-go-round for an hour. The whole world's spinning on you. Okay? Number 1, eyes. Number 2, throat. Number 3, I would do nose. Number 4, ear if you can get it. But you cup it like this. I don't know if y'all can see that. Cup it like that and smack that ear. And that'll burst an eardrum. That's if you have to fight. Best thing to do is not to fight. Best thing to do is get the hell out of there. So in any situation where there's some sort of horrible thing going on, such as a mass shooting, such as a terrorist attack, anything like that, number 1 priority is to get off the X. Seek shelter, get off the X. Okay? If he's in your immediate area, right there, you want to get behind something so he can't hit you while he's shooting or whatever. And the first chance you have, get off the X. Get the hell out of there. That shelter in place shit will get you killed. The only time you should be sheltering is just if he's shooting at you. You want to get behind something so you don't get hit, but you want to get the hell off the X as quick as you can. If there's a window, go through it. If there's a door, go through it. You put as many barriers between you and that person as you possibly can. And that also goes for if it's a single situation, just somebody after you. Same thing applies. Get the hell off the X. Get as far as you can get away from that situation as quickly as possible. Too many times in those situations, people will shelter in place because that's what they tell you to do. So then what the guy does is he just walks around finding all your hiding spots and picking you off. It's like the world's most deadly game of hide and seek. And while he's over here on this side of the building, your ass could have already escaped. But instead, you're sitting there waiting for somebody to come save you. But we've seen in a lot of these situations, the cops show up, they don't even come in right away. They sit outside for 10 or 15 minutes formulating a plan. And by the time they come in, it's too late. And that's my next point. Never rely on the police to save you. You have got to save yourself. I'm not saying the police won't come. I'm not saying that they won't try to save you when they get there, because they will. But it takes at least 10 minutes for the police to get to you if you've called 911. In a lot of places. Now, some places is better than others, okay? But 5 to 10 minutes, at least, for the police to get there. Some places are a lot worse than that. 5 minutes is an eternity in a fight. Anybody who's ever been in a fight can tell you 5 minutes is an eternity in a fight. I could end your life in less than 10 seconds. So you got all that time. You got to try to survive until they get there. So get off the X. If you're forced to fight, go for one of the weak spots I talked about. As soon as you hit one of them weak spots, get off the X. Don't try to be Rambo. Don't try to be, I hit him and he's hurt a little bit, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fight because now I got the advantage. No. Because you're going to get got. That's what's going to happen to you. If you're lucky enough to hit them and it hurts them to where you get them in the eye or the ear or the nose or the throat or something and they're hurt for a second, get the hell off the X. Run. Get out of there. It's not worth dying. If you're in a situation where you're going to get robbed, they come up to you and they want your purse or whatever, give it to them. And get the hell out of there. It's not worth your life. Unless you're somebody who is trained and is very capable of defending themselves, you got to realize you're a victim. So you've got to help your chances of survival as much as possible. So if you stay in an area where you're not isolated, where there's other people around, it's well lit, chances are you're not going to find yourself in a situation like that. If for some reason you do find yourself in a situation like that, even in a well-lit, populated area, such as a mass shooting or something like a terrorist attack, something like that, then you get the hell off the X as quick as humanly possible. Get out of there. Don't sit around and wait. Don't hide. You can be scared all you want. Be scared while you're running. Get the hell out of there. Get off the X. That will save your life. You have no idea how many people would be alive today if they would have ran and got out of there instead of sheltering in place. And that's what upsets me about like the school stuff, right? Because they teach the teachers in the school situations that what they want to do is lock their classroom door and shelter in the classroom. Well, the problem is the guy gets in because he's armed. So he can just blow the damn door apart and come in, right? He can shoot the knob with a lock mechanism and come through. It doesn't take a whole lot to force your way in. So then once he gets in, you're screwed. You and all the kids are just sitting there, sitting ducks. You gotta come up with a better situation than that. Most classrooms, at least on the ground level, have windows. So I would say, yes, absolutely lock that door. Buy yourself a minute or two that he's going to have to deal with that door to get in. Start getting kids out those windows. Get them the hell out of there. Tell them, run. You know, I'm for putting something in each classroom that would be like a barricade on the door where you can have like a thing in the ground that you can put a pole into that you could also fit into the door so that it would wedge the door like this so that you couldn't get in. Now that's if the door opens inwards, which all doors should do that if you want to remain safe, and then barricade that shit so that it's very hard to force your way in that door. Something like that would be a great idea. Even one of those like medieval castle kind of deals where you got the two little things like this and the big bar that goes down. Why couldn't you do that? Like steel brackets bolted into the damn studs. And then literally a big piece of steel bar that goes down and barricades that door to keep it from coming open. That would definitely earn you a lot of time before that person could get in. And then you can try getting those kids out that window. Every school has a school resource officer now in this area, at least. I don't know about all over the country, but here they do. And that's a great thing too, because then you got somebody who is a law enforcement person who is trained with a firearm on the premises to take care of that situation when it arises. But once again, don't trust that they're going to be able to take care of it. Do everything you can to stay safe. I've told my mom, she works at a lab, and they make some pretty critical stuff there. And there's always drills to where this is what you're going to do if somebody attacks here, right? Because there's a likelihood that it could happen someday. And I've always told her, do not hide, do not shelter in place, get off the X, get out of there as quick as you can. We spent our whole life in the military, so mom's had this training, same as me. So she knows you get the hell out of there. You don't sit around and wait for somebody to come save you. If you have the opportunity to get free, go. Go out a window, whatever it takes. Get the hell out of there and then run for your life. Don't get out and then hang out in the parking lot and wait. Well, I know they said in the drill that I'm supposed to, if I escape, if this happens, I'm supposed to go to this specific area and wait for everybody. No, fuck that. Don't wait for nobody. Get out of there. Run. Keep running till you get tired and then run some more. Okay? Get away from the area. That's going to keep you alive. I would say that if you are somebody who has a firearm, make sure that you are proficient using that firearm. You've got to practice. You've got to train. You can't just go buy one, put it in your purse, and never shoot it and think you're going to be okay. You've got to know that thing inside and out. You've got to know within seconds without having to think about it. Pull it out. This is what I got to do. Okay? For people that don't ordinarily use firearms, I would suggest a revolver. Because a revolver, even though it holds less rounds, there's no complicated machinery in a revolver. It's a cylinder, pull the trigger, and it goes boom. Okay? That's all there is to it. Because when you can cock it back if you want to, and then pull the trigger, or if you just pull the trigger, it'll cock itself back and fire. It's pretty much foolproof. Point and shoot. It's easy. If you get into semi-automatic handguns, you got a whole different situation. Because those you have to chamber around. Sometimes when you chamber around, it lodges sideways, gets all jammed up, and then you got to fish it out and dig it out. It's a pain in the ass. If you do it too hard, you could bust the spring. There's a lot to that could go wrong. Now, if somebody knows how to use it, who's proficient in it, it's a good choice for them because it has more rounds. But a revolver is pretty much idiot-proof. And that's what you want in that situation if you need it. People talk about mace, they talk about pepper spray, they talk about tasers, all those kind of things. I'm not entirely against those things, but here's the problem. Let's say I come up to you in that dark alley again, and you got a taser, and you hit me with that taser, and it doesn't work. It shocks me a little bit, but it doesn't take me out. Because I've been hit with a taser before. It's temporary. It's very short. So what happens if you try to hit me with it and I take it away from you? Now I got your taser. Didn't do you much good. Even if you hit me with it, it's not going to stop me. Okay? Let's go with pepper spray, which is Mace's angry older brother. Okay? Pepper spray, if you hit me in my face, it's going to suck. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily not going to still keep coming, but if you hit me in my face with my eyes and stuff, I'm not going to be able to see very well. It's going to absolutely suck. But what if it's windy? Then you're going to hit yourself. I've seen that happen before to people, where they pulled out pepper spray and tried to spray somebody, and the wind blew it back on them. That's the problem with pepper spray. Some people say, well, I'll carry a knife. Well, you run into the same problem with a knife as you do with a taser. It's just because you hit me with a knife doesn't mean I'm not going to keep coming. Knife isn't immediate. And it takes a whole lot to use a knife on another human being. Most people don't have the guts to do that. It takes a special kind of person to do that to somebody. And another thing that you don't realize with a knife is once you stab somebody with a knife, there's a suction that happens when it goes in the body. And it's hard sometimes to pull that back out. Now, if you're not used to that, then all of a sudden, you've lost your knife. That moment of panic of, oh shit, what do I do now? And it's done. And once again, take it away from you, use it against you. Now, theoretically, they could take your firearm away from you as well. But chances are, if you only pull it when you have to use it, and then you use it immediately after you pull it, there's not going to be a whole lot of time for them to take it away from you. Of all the choices, I think that's the best option for most people. But once again, you got to train with it. You got to be proficient with it. You got to know what you're doing. Because it doesn't do you no good if you don't hit them. But hopefully, through all of this, it doesn't happen to you because you've prevented it by being in a well-lit place with a lot of people. You've kept your eyes open. You've looked around, made sure you know what's going on, and you've kept yourself safe. But with the way the world is anymore, you got to think about these things, and you always have to keep yourself aware. That's the most important thing I can tell you out of everything tonight, is always be aware of what's going on around you. Because you would be surprised at how much of a difference that'll make. Because if I'm somebody that wants to rob you and take what you have, if you're paying attention, right away when I see that, I say, okay, this person's paying attention. It's not an easy mark. This isn't somebody I'm just going to be able to get the drop on and take what I want from them and leave real quick. This person's going to be a problem. Now, I'm a big, scary guy. I might still be able to take you, right? I might be able to come over and just pound the hell out of you and take whatever I want anyway. But it's going to be a lot more trouble than pounding that person over there who ain't paying attention, who's got freaking earphones in, who's sitting there bebopping along with music, eyes closed, having a good old time, not even paying attention to the world around him. I'm jacking that person every time. But you, who's over here looking around and paying attention and looking at me, nah, you're not easy, man. You're gonna be a problem, because that means I'm gonna have to kill you if I want your stuff. You might give it to me, but you know who I am. You've been looking at me. You can identify me. So I'm gonna go to jail. So I gotta kill you. But that guy over there, he's bebopping with his eyes closed. He ain't paying no damn attention. I'll walk up and just pop. He's gone, unconscious. Take whatever I want and go. He never even saw me. That's what you got to do. You got to pay attention. Most important thing, and use everything I taught you tonight. And hell, put some glitter on too. That's the whole point of the show, right? That's what we were originally talking about. Is they can, if worse comes to worse, then they can use that to link you to whoever hurt you, and maybe they'll go to jail. So that being said, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and see what he has to say. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so this is a little bit different show, and it went pretty far. That's why I was had to told you the world of Hershey talks for something gets about 40 minutes in, and that's why I have to come in. It's actually a great idea with the glitter, because a lot of women get assaulted, get attacked, essayed, what's other ones, killed, murdered. Happens a lot. Sad. So do men too. It happens to men too. It's not just women. It's both of them. The majority of the time, it's a woman getting assaulted. So that would be great because, yes, think about it. Now they can figure out where the glitter came from. But it's going to be very hard to argue that, yeah, it's just because he got glitter. I mean, if it's a small town, you run into people. You might, but, you know, there's always going to be, like you were saying, arguments about that. Seeing that there's proof that stuff works, and then there's proof that they could be argued. But most of the time, it's still good. Where, like he said, there's a reason to wear the glitter is because if something happens, you have a better chance of catching the person. That's true. I was just saying that sometimes that may not always happen. Like he was saying that you can have a shadow of a doubt somebody's guilty, and that don't mean nothing. Look, it's gone on lately with a lot of people, especially our billionaires and stuff like that. A lot of people get out of shit because they have money. But that's life. That's always happened. It's always going to happen. 99% of the time, the rich are always going to get out of it some way. They might pay some fines and get a little jail time, but one way or another, they'll find a way out of it. Unless they want to make an example, and that's a whole nother story for another show. See, always come up with one. But yes, me and a person who's I've dealing with guns all my life, and you know, my job, I carry a gun off and on. So I've been around them forever, and I totally agree with them. Even 38s they're all you have to do is put the bullet in. 99% of the time that gun's going to fire. 99.9% of the time that gun's going to fire, unless you don't shut it. That's about the only thing. Or you put the bullet backwards. Even if it's fucking dirty, unless it's super, super rusty, and that's very rare, and you can still fix it, get new parts. But that gun's gonna work. Semi-automatic pistols, the problem sometimes is they jam. You don't put sometimes those even in Glocks, even though they said unjammable bullshit. Not all the time you're going to get that bullet in a certain way, and it moves. The heat, the tension, the cold can bring it down. People got to realize when it's in those pins, it moves. It doesn't stay there. It's not like just staying there. It's not like big moves, but they're slight, just enough where it can jam. Or the gun's dirty. Some guns can be dirty and they won't fire. It's true. And Glock, it's very hard. I've seen you don't even have to clean them for like the first couple thousand rounds. They told me when I bought mine, but I haven't had any issues, and I clean it anyway. But if you guys are gonna get a gun and you've never been around a gun, a 357, a 38, but a 357 for a man would be all right. A woman, you know, I'm not saying that I've seen some women shoot a 357, but ideal is a 38. Probably would be a little bit better gun for you. And if you're going to get a semi, go after a 9mm, more comfortable for you. And I'm not saying that there's women who have bigger hands. You could probably use a 40 or something. I carry a 40. James, I think, carries a 357. I used to carry a 357 all the time. I know, and I've been doing security and stuff for a long time, so I know what people don't think I'm paying attention. I really am. I really can see what's going on. Some things piss me off when people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they worry about their element. Sometimes you have to be aware of, even if they're doing something, sometimes you shouldn't say things because there's certain people. And yeah, you'll get them in trouble, but they'll remember who you are, and you'll have some issue. You gotta remember, your job sometimes isn't worth that. There's just people don't care anymore, like James said. And for women, that's a really great idea. Get that. Think about it. Put it all over your body. One, I like it. I think women are beautiful with it. James has a different opinion, but I get it while you're doing it. Now, especially putting it on so if somebody gets something happens, they know, or I know most of you are not doing that, but it's still a good idea. And like James says, gouging the eyes, kicking the balls, if you have a chance, do it. Don't not do it. But there's a better chance you gouge the eyes, especially women with their nails. If you get those two in, they're done. You cut those eyes, they're done. They're done. They're going to scream for murder and run. The one thing is, don't sit there and keep trying to beat the shit out of them. Just run. Especially that. He's not getting up when you stick your eye in there. You cut those corners, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be bleeding. They're done. Once they're bled, even if they catch you, they're done. There's no, even if they wash themselves, it's somewhere on their body. Unless they totally wash their body, burn those clothes. And this is what the mistake most people do. They don't get rid of the clothes, or they do. They just throw them in a trash can. Burn them. You burn them, there's no proof. Go shower. Not at your shower. What you do is I'm not telling people what to do, but be smarter. You don't realize they can map everything you're doing when you're using your cards. People don't get it. They don't need to put a chip in you. They got a chip when they see when you're going the ATM. They know that this person goes at this time all the time. They map what you're doing. They know John Peters goes to the mall quite frequently. John Peters' wife frequently goes at least 2 times a week. They know this Subway. Trust me, they know how to map you. It's not that hard. That's what people forget. They don't use cash, and then that's the biggest thing that everybody gets caught, or they don't throw the receipt. That's I think John Wayne Gacy got caught because of a fucking receipt was in his house that he didn't throw away, and they caught him. They knew it was from that murder, and they saw him. If they didn't have the receipt, they would have never known he was there. Sorry. And like he said, all they need is one little thing, and they got you. A receipt's very big when they find it in somebody's house that you murdered, and they know that you went to the store, so they knew he did it. He didn't rip it up, and he didn't burn it. People don't think. That's what the problem is. And I'm not advocating anybody to go out and do anything. I was just saying because he's already talked about 40 minutes, so I can only talk so much about it. But it's a point. Remember, stop watching movies because it's not what's going to happen. That's what happened, I think, in the 90s and stuff. People got into Kung Fu and stuff, and people didn't know that. But now the UFC and all that stuff has made it so popular. Everybody knows martial arts in some ways or somehow. You had to. They evolved. And you watch those fights, you have a lot of people running around. You have a lot of people who don't know the fight, and they might beat up somebody, and then they run into somebody, they don't know what they're dealing with and get destroyed. I've seen it. They know it. When somebody throws a leg kick at your knee and you drop, you know you're in trouble. If you don't know what you're doing, just walk away. Like, I've seen it. Walk the fuck away because you're getting knocked out or hurt or even worse, beaten to death. And that's what's happening. A lot of these people are getting beaten to death. That's because of what goes on. A lot of these guys see jail shit. They get it. This is why I tell people the jail thing is really backfired on, especially in California, because why they stomped them out? Because that's just fucking when they go to jail. That's what they learn, especially when all of them. You have to fight me when you go in jail. Almost in California, it's different. They go by race. My brother-in-law's people I know work at prisons. It's very calculated. It's all organized there. And if you don't want to roll with certain people, you're going to have a lot of problems. And California jails, if you leave California and go to another jail, then that person there's a reason. California and Texas are really segregated, and they have a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that happens. And I'm trying to get away from this but a lot of these attacks and stuff that's happening is because you get people who go to jail in juvie and I don't know if you've been seeing the horror stories that was going on in these juveniles. So they just don't care. They were in jail 6-7 months ago, and I'm not saying everyone. There's some people just knows how to fight and have bad tempers and lose themselves. But there's some of these people just learn it because they learn that's how to fight. Jump somebody, it's not, or stab somebody in jail. So you pretty much are raising people who are fighters and killers. And what are we going to do? I really don't know what to say on this issue because we were talking about this. This is more like a Forrest Screwed show, but I'm just saying it, just showing in general, it still fits in what we're talking about. And they have a lot of assaults like I said, he was talking about that, and they find out stuff because of blood. Because there, it's almost impossible to get rid of stuff because it splats. People don't realize fluids splat everywhere, and this is forensic. This is what we're talking about. It's even piss. That's why in jail you don't stand the pee if there's a bunch of people in there, because pee goes everywhere. They want you to sit down and pee like a woman, and then it's not being. That's why it's because the piss doesn't go everywhere. When you got a toilet with 4 people, you don't want somebody pissing everywhere on the seats, pissing all over the place. It goes everywhere. That's true, and that's a thing a lot of people don't. I don't know if you know about that, but if something happens, like somebody gets assaulted, what the problem is, they'll wash it off, but they forget it gets on the sides and it splats like he's talking about. And all it needs is like a lotion that you wear, a cologne, glitter. I'm just saying any place, women, prison, whatever. That's the same thing I'm talking about. I'm getting into this point of they can find out almost anything now with this shit. And they can find out stuff maybe 50 years ago that got away, and they're catching shit now. They're going and they're redoing these cases and finding out where they missed it, and they're finding out who did it and all this shit. Some guy 100 years old, like 90 years old, they arrested him, and they didn't even do nothing to the guy because I guess he was going to die. There's no point. What are you going to do? He's 90 years old. The statute of limitation was 70 years, I think. They said that they didn't even do anything. It was too late. And he basically got away with it. And then there's that one guy who was 80-something years old. He did it, and he said that he was tired of running his whole life, and he turned himself in because I guess he got seen on a game or something like that, and they recognize. I don't know how somebody recognized him. And he just looked like himself, but a little older, and they caught him that way. And he was like 80 years old, I think 79. He already had lived a life, and he turned himself in and said he never could really get over what he did, so he finally turned himself in. I think he got sentenced for life, but I think he died a year or two later, so he really didn't. He got away with it. I mean, yeah, I might have got a year at the end of his life, but who cares? Some people get away with, like he was saying, on shadow of a doubt, they get away with shit. Especially now that it's almost impossible to get away with shit now. It's just people don't think ahead, that they're smarter than you. You have to, like, killers are different. These are people who are psychopaths, but they're geniuses in what they do. They know how to play with these people who are the FBI, and they have these people do surrenders and all the people who chase them down for murders. They know what they're doing. So this is when somebody usually gets killed, it's not thought about. It just happens. Sometimes it is. It's planned out. There's some people who've been thinking about it for years, and you don't even know. You think they love you, and the next minute you're gone. But if I'm glad he brought this show up, because we always talk about just paranormal and stuff like that, but there's a lot of ladies who are in the paranormal, and this is to them. Something could never happen, and I would never want that to. But you could be in a location, because some of these girls go by themselves, and men. You never know. And I want to say it for both, but most women, because that's the majority that happens to women, get attacked. And watch what you're doing. Even if you do have one person with you, another female, they could still get you. There could be 3 or 4 guys, and a horror story could happen. I've heard that happen. It's happened, especially out here. I think it was about 10 years ago that happened. They were partying out there, and people got too into drugs, and they killed somebody and did horrible things, but they snitched on them and caught them all. But they were all out there and underage, and they did horrible things, and it was a guy. So it can happen to anyone. I think it was a guy and a girlfriend I did. So you never know. But he's saying the point is, wear something that knows, and know your surroundings. Know that you're not a weakness. When you're not paying attention, like at the bank, people come in and they're not paying attention, realizing they're still at a bank that has money. And people just, like, it's another day and not paying attention, and that's what happens. He's right. Even most people who kill people, they even said it. There's some that they don't care. But most of them said that the person that they didn't think could do something, they went after them and killed them, or killed their family, or did something to their kids. They went for the weakest person, and that's just, people look at that way. A lot of people look at weakness as something, and they can get it. They'll use it against you. And it doesn't matter how strong you are. There's some really smart people up there. And that's what going into the show, because like I said, James went to detail on this, but we never do shows like this, and this isn't all we're just bored. We could do anything we want with paranormal. We just it has to do with, we have females in our life that we want to be safe, and it's something that happens a lot. And I know a lot of females are into paranormal, and a lot of people do a lot of stuff at night. Please be aware, and please always have friends with you. Like you said, the buddy system. Please make sure you have stuff to defend yourself. Even if it's not a gun, have something, a weapon or something. Just, you never know. I'm not advocating to hurt somebody, but I said, if you got to defend yourself, you got to defend yourself. Not everybody's going to have a gun. Somebody have a knife on you. If you have a bat or a weapon, it's going to be, at least you can have a fighting chance. I would rather go out with a fighting chance than just being somebody's. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you die, you die. Like, you know what? I went out. What are they going to do to me? I'm dead. So it's going to be less of a, I mean, I know you don't want to hear that, but I'd rather be shot and then 3 or 4 of them get me and they have their way with me and cut me up in little pieces, or take. That's why I'm saying that's I'm just anybody it can happen to. And it does. It happens to a lot of men too. There's a lot of men who, that happens to. It's a crazy world. But that being said, that's all I got to say. Buy the glitter.
Yeah, my wife doesn't go anywhere without me. Point blank and period. Wherever she needs to go, I take her. And I make sure she's safe. Because I'm not going to be that guy who decided, you know what, you just go on your own today. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like going down to the damn store. You just go. I'll just sit here and play Xbox or something. And then the knock on the door comes with the police telling me something happened to her. Never be able to live with myself. That woman is too damn important to me. So, and my wife's a badass. Don't get it twisted. My wife can fight her ass off. She is not a weakling at all. But it is my job, it is my duty as a man to protect my woman. And I go everywhere she goes. And if you want to get to her, you got to go through me. And I'm not that easy to go through. I'm like a brick fucking wall, baby. It ain't very easy to get through me. And I will give my life to protect that woman, if necessary. So if you're married, you should have your man with you. That's the best layer of protection you could possibly have. And while we're speaking about that really quickly before I throw it back over to old boy for his shout outs, that ought to be something you consider when you marry somebody too, as a woman. And that's probably not a very politically correct thing to say, but I don't give a shit about political correctness. If your man is walking around with a man bun, carrying a man purse, and in touch with his feelings and all that bullshit, chances are he's not going to be much good in a scrap. In a life or death situation, you might be kind of screwed. You need to get yourself a real man. Somebody, I suggest get yourself a redneck. Because rednecks fight better than anybody in the world. Hell, we like to fight. It's what we do for fun. And our whole life is killing things. That's what we do to eat. That's what we do to survive. The majority of the military is made up of rednecks. You can't go wrong with a redneck. You know what I mean? And trust me, a redneck ain't going to run away. If somebody comes up and pulls a weapon on you or tries to hurt you, a redneck is not going to turn tail and run and leave you there by yourself. That man will step in front of you and protect you, because that's how we are. So just consider that when you're deciding if you're going to marry somebody. You don't want some weak guy that can't protect you, because that's the whole point, right? A man's duty is to protect his woman, protect his family, and to provide for his woman and his family. If you can't do those things, you ain't much of a man. And I don't see why a woman would want to be with you. I don't understand why women want to be with men anyway, to be honest with you. I mean, even the best of us ain't that good. You know what I mean? As far as it goes, but women make some bad choices, man. Y'all always looking for the bad boy type. You're always looking for, certain people that aren't going to be any good for you, and it don't make any sense to me. You got guys out here who are really good dudes who would worship the ground you walk on and who would treat you great, but you friend zone their ass, and I see it. I see it all the time with people I know, where a woman will be complaining, why can't I ever find a good man? Every man I find either beats me or cheats on me or whatever. It's like, because you're picking scumbags, dude. You got a guy right there who's your buddy, who's been your friend for all these years. He's a hell of a good guy, but he doesn't do it for you. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We talked about this before once when we did a show about why women were so uh, infatuated with serial killers and like Michael Myers and all that shit. I don't know. Women are crazy, dude. I don't understand them. I could write a book about all the things I don't understand about women. You know what I mean? It would be longer and more complicated than any book I've ever written. But anyway, that's the way it is. Uh, Make sure you got your man that can protect you. Make sure that you are aware of your surroundings, do all the things I talked about tonight, and you'll have a better chance. But ultimately, realize shit happens, and you will find yourself in some hairy situations sometimes. And just do the best you can. Get the hell out of there. There's no shame in running away. Too many times people are like, "Well, I'm not going to run." No, fuck that, man. If I'm in a place and some dude comes in and starts blasting, if my woman ain't there, my kids ain't there, I ain't sticking around. What the hell am I staying there for? You know what I mean? I'm out of there, dude. I'm going to go home to my family. I'm not going to sit there and have some kind of massive fight with this guy. Now, if the dude wants to attack me, that's a whole different story. I'm going to put him in. He's going to have. Let me be careful how I say this because I don't want to get like demonetized on that bullshit. He's going to take a dirt nap. Let's put it that way. I'm not. I don't play around. If you come for me, I'm going to end you. That's it. Now I'm a really nice fella. I'm not going to mess with you otherwise. I don't ever start trouble. I don't ever hurt nobody that I don't have to hurt. But if you bring the fight to me, be prepared for war because I'm not going to stop until I'm safe. You know what I mean? And that, to close this out, is the message I would give to everybody listening. If you can escape, escape. If you're forced where you cannot get away, you do whatever you have to do. No rules. Nothing's off limits. Hit them with anything. Go for the tender spots. Every joint in the body, fingers, wrist, elbow, knees, shoulders to some extent. Every joint in the body, you bend it the opposite way and it goes bye-bye. You know what I mean? Do what you have to do to get the hell out of there. And the first chance you have, escape. That's my advice to you. But hopefully, God willing, you won't ever have to deal with it. But if you follow what I talked about tonight, you'll have a better chance if you do have to. Okay? Love you guys. I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and let him give his final shout-outs and everything, and we'll wrap up.
Well, rednecks are crazy people and they can fight most, but I'm not going to say the greatest fighter because the Philadelphia fighters are pretty fucking tough. And the Buddhist monks in China and Bruce Lee were probably look at you. You went to martial arts, so really, who's the best? There's always going to be an argument on that, like Bruce Lee and ninjutsu. If like Hoist Gracie's dad never got beat but one time, and it was he broke his arm, and he finally tapped out after an hour and a half of wrestling around. And people don't realize he did this shit for like tournaments, but remember. The big brawler did in the finals wrestled Hoist Gracie, and Hoist Gracie choked his big ass out. That's why I'm saying it. But James also knows how to fucking do that, so that's why I'm saying he's very dangerous. He's a dangerous person, and I'm not saying that like he will hurt you, like for purpose, but he could probably deal with you and multiple people. I wouldn't want to mess with James. And I'm a tough dude. Trust me. I can fight and I can get down. I was going to fight in King of the Cage when I was younger. I can hit hard. I know how to fucking do certain shit. But James is just a tough. I went through a lot of trauma where I lose it. And I'm a whole different person. I'm a dangerous person when I flip out. And I know how to control what I do. So but he is not joking with you. And just so you know, the Tiger Bomb fight got postponed to August 9th because Dragon ended up moving and had to go get a job, and it took him longer than he thought. So now that fight is August 9th. We will get it more going. That's so you guys know, Tiger Bomb versus Legendary Dragon. But he had a life change. He had to go and do something and move, and it takes a lot. So there was nothing he could do. They postponed the fight, got it to August 9th, the fastest they can get. And that would help both fighters because he wasn't able to train for a month. And it just wasn't going to be nothing anybody was going to see. So he's got to get an extra 3 months, and that's good for both fighters, and we'll see. That being said, thank you for joining us on Staring in the Abyss on ParaX Radio every Sunday nights at 12 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 Pacific Time, p.m. The Best Of Show Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. You can go on Spotify. You can see us on Staring into the Abyss and We're Screwed. You can get our merchandise shirts, all kinds of cool stuff at teespring.com, Staring into the Abyss. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. This is the last week of April. I want to say happy birthday to my dad in a couple days and my daughter. It's going to be 24. That's crazy. I love you guys. Have a good night. Misfits, Sugar Ladies, the Monster Livers, and Demon Hunters. I fucking love you. Good night.
Appreciate you guys watching. Love you guys. I just want everybody to be safe. You know, the point of this show wasn't look at me, I'm a big bad dude. The point of this show was I've taught self-defense for many, many years. I hold a master rank in Sanshou Kung Fu. I've studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kempo, Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do. I've studied a lot of different arts. And one thing, like I talked about growing up in the military, and one thing every base has is some form of martial arts classes. So I would take whatever I could take. So then I'd have 4 years of whatever that was. And then when I moved to another base, I'd take whatever they offered. You know, and then once we retired out of the Pentagon, I went into a lot deeper study with a lot of different arts, you know. And another thing every base has is a bowling alley. I'm a pretty damn good bowler, too. And I spent a lot of time doing that. But anyway, the point of this isn't that. The point of this is here's some knowledge that I have that I can give to you to hopefully keep you safe and give you a better shot of surviving if something does happen. Because nobody wants anybody to get hurt, you know. And God willing, like I said, you never have to use anything. You know, I'd be perfectly happy if I never fought again. You know, I've had a lot of fights in my life, both, you know, in tournaments, in the ring, and on the street. I've had a lot of fights. But I'd be perfectly happy to never hurt another person in my entire life. Dude, all I want to do is go outside and plant fruit trees and get my garden going. You know, I've been planting all day. You can probably tell I got this farmer's tan. Look at that going on. Because I was out all day in the sun planting. Man, that's all I want to do. I just want to grow things and have a good life and be peaceful, you know. But sometimes peace isn't an option. Sometimes war gets brought to your doorstep. And when that happens, it's always good to be prepared. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think. As always, up to you to make up your own mind, and I'll catch you on the next one. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock for Dark Sun Rising on the ParaX Radio Network.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Dustin from the Dead Zone.
Your source for everything paranormal, ParaX.